Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today will be a special episode of the Year in Review.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we once again have our usual gang of hosts, Very Worshipful Brother David Colbeth and myself from the Matthew Appel from the Grand Lodge of Washington here, and Worshipful Brothers Jarrod, Dunham and Stephen Chung from the Grand Lodge of British Columbia and Yukon to our north. And we're going to have a little just sort of discussion as the last episode of the year on sort of what happened on the podcast and what we talked about and some of the highs, and we'll ignore the lows because clearly there weren't any. And sort of what we've enjoyed about doing the show this year. So does anybody have anything particular that stands out to them?
I guess I'll go first. I really like the idea that we tried to make it a year of series and not that thing on Apple phones. A year of successive shows. We started off, of course, this year with the blunders from Most Worshipful Jim Mendoza, who's a longtime guest on our show. We really appreciate him coming on and look forward to him coming on in the future and talking about great topics as well. But the 7 Blunders of Masonry was a really neat series and is evident that it was interesting to our listeners because it got great reviews and great watch time and listen time. So I think the idea of trying to make this a multi-part series. And so I imagine one of the questions later might be, well, what was your favorite show? And I kind of tongue-in-cheek was going to say, well, every show is my favorite, or the last one we did was my favorite. We have more and more fun every time. And yeah, it can be difficult to curate and figure out ideas and that kind of stuff, but it's a neat process. And just like Lodge, as much as I might drive home one night and think, what in the world am I doing in this thing called Masonry? After you have meeting or the next time you have a great conversation with somebody, you go, this is why. Or you're bringing in a brother and he's so excited and you go, this is why. And it's the same thing with the show. Sometimes I think, oh, that's right, I got to edit those videos, or we got to talk about this or figure out what we're going to talk about or study something. And then we have the show. I talked for an hour and a half with Jarrod, whatever. And I go, this is why we do this, because it's fun and we want to talk about it. And so to say what's my favorite show, I think the last one, we just came out of a series of the Speed of Masonry, and we didn't have a guest on. It was just us talking. And I think those are some of my favorite shows. There's so many favorite shows throughout everything we've done, but I think the idea of the series is the multiple shows of things. And yeah, could we, as evident right now, I'm going on and on and on. We could easily talk for hours and hours, and so we've tried to make the format a little bit more consumable. We'd love to know what your comments and ideas are for the future. It seems like YouTube's algorithms and other podcast shows are going into that 10 to 15 minute format. And boy, it'd be pretty tough for four Freemasons to talk for less than 15 minutes and have anything of quality to talk about. I mean, it'd be different if we were teaching something specific, maybe. We've talked about that idea as maybe to have a specific topic, specific idea that we want to bring forth, and we'll have a quick show on it, and then maybe a follow-on show later in the week. So it would end up being like 2 in a week where we do that and talk more than you could stand, probably. As someone says, one of my favorite speakers used to say, there would be lots of questions coming, and he would say, don't worry, I will stay here until I outnumber you. One of my favorite lines.
Well, I think that it's been a pretty successful year as far as the guests we've had on and achieving our goals of doing more interviews and doing the series. I liked the series. I thought they were fun. I think the ideas for this next year / season coming up are pretty cool. And we might actually have some more education by the little papers that we read and introduce. I'm looking forward to the changes coming that way. Of course, we still have to have interesting guests every now and then. Jim needs an avenue to, get out there, and I think he enjoys coming on our show. So, we have to make sure we bring him back.
Yeah, and one of our other favorite guests, Zane McCune, also I really enjoyed his series. I think I know what Matt's favorite show was, but I'll let Matt. Yeah, I'm going to get him a hat or a shirt that says fanboy.
Yeah, I as predicted, my favorite couple of shows was when we talked with Robert Johnson. I was just all a twin, and it was just really cool. I feel there was actually a part of me after that I enjoyed talking with him, not just because whatever, he's one of my Masonic podcasting people I like. I won't quite say idol, but almost. But after that conversation, I was left thinking, we could have a Masonic podcast about Masonic podcasts. It seems like there are so many of them out there these days that and there are so many guys doing it and so much good stuff out there that we should all just get together and I don't know if cross promote is quite the word, but say, I really love that episode, or, how did you do that? Or when did you come up with that? And just have a big conversation about Masonic podcasting, which is probably a terrible idea now that I think about it, but
isn't that kind of how the Masonic Roundtable, I think that's how their version of that came about, was that they all kind of independently had shows and they wanted to cross-pollinate and cross-topic and that kind of thing. I don't know. We didn't ask Robert about that. Maybe we should have him back on.
Yeah, we totally should.
Well, reach out. We'll have him back. It'd be interesting to have, a couple of their members come on and talk about it.
Well, as Steve alluded,
good show.
Yeah, as Steve alluded, I think our focus this next year will probably a little bit more. The word esoteric may be generous, but a little bit more contemplative. And so that was on my list. Some of the series that I really enjoyed, the esotericism in Masonry with Troy Sprue and Ken Lane. I think those are really neat shows. Again, there's just so many that were really great. I even put down the guys from Amity. It wasn't necessarily groundbreaking information, but what a cool idea, the Amity app, and to be able to connect and verify and some of the stuff they're doing too. Those are really cool shows.
I know one of my favorite things about this year was we brought Jarrod along.
Hey,
we managed to sucker him into being on the show. Since you've been here, which one of us is your favorite? I mean, what did you enjoy discussing?
Now, like I tell my children, you're all my favorites.
Oh,
I'm grateful for you guys actually inviting me on and allowing me to, rant like the old past master that I am, beard and everything. But
yeah, no, it's been great having you, just to get another perspective on things from the different. I mean, the three of us talk about everything a lot, and having someone intelligent to put us on the guidelines helps a lot. So, is there some topic you enjoyed particularly, or?
I'll be honest. I've enjoyed doing this. I'm just glad that I haven't made a major flub blunder yet this year. So, I'm just glad that you guys keep inviting me back all the time. That I haven't gotten the Dear Jarrod letter in my email after an episode.
We've had a vote, Jarrod.
You are the weakest link.
You're out of the band, man. No, not at all.
Well, Steve's the official OG on the show, but I guess I may have that status of maybe the junior OG of the show. And in our blue room, we were talking about that when Jarrod started and all that, and I kind of said, well, you're officially a host with the most. You're one of us now, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, he's officially part of the team. And we do have a pretty cool team, guys. I got to admit, it's come together nicely. As everything else, it's evolved over time. And, we sometimes things don't work out according to the plan. But we always seem to manage to pull it together, and with the awesome editing skills of David, It's been great. Like, I think one of the new things that we did this past year was the new intro and closing thing, and I think that worked out really well.
Try to make it shorter. A minute. I think the beginning was a minute and a half, and not too many people complained, but there was a few people that said that's a long intro. So if you have any comments on that idea, we were just talking about, should we change it again? It is kind of nice having the familiarity of the music or of the tone. Oh, that's the Working Tools show. But again, we'd love to have we do appreciate. I try to respond to all the comments that come in on the YouTube channel. I'm sorry to say that I don't necessarily look at any comments or whatever anywhere else. I don't have an Apple phone, and so I'll have to, tongue in cheek, request that Matt Appel look at that. But if if you have comments, we do look at them on YouTube, and we do try to reply to those and try to watch. We also try to watch what you like, and so if you give thumbs up or if you promote shows or whatever, then we try to pay attention to that, and we can certainly try to do more of those shows. So please let us know. And
when we hear from you guys, we pay attention, and every now and then we'll ship out a little swag, right? So don't be shy. Comment, send us correspondence. We like it.
Yep. Emails the workingtoolspodcast@gmail.com. Probably get a lot of spam now, but anyway, that's. You certainly can email us, and we'll be in touch. And I think Steve's monitoring that pretty closely, and so we'll certainly love to. And of course, we'd love to have you support. We don't necessarily have, a secret room or a secret back area or whatever. And I don't think you necessarily want to watch all of our Blue Room recordings. Some of them we probably wouldn't want to publish, but we could. That would be an option if you have any interest in watching some of those things. We could certainly publish them into a Patreon area. We haven't necessarily promoted that. We just do this out of fun. It's more than anything. So the support, it's not lots and lots of money. And so I don't know if we haven't decided where we're going to give it to some organization or utilize it for travel. Now that we're getting back to travel, that would be nice to be able to visit each other and go to each other's Grand Lodges, Annual Communications, and all Masonic days and that kind of stuff. When you were talking about getting the podcast guys together, yes, we could certainly do that on Zoom or whatever on some show, but wouldn't it be cool to have all the podcasters come together and have a podcasticon or something?
Yeah, now that we can travel, we should actually get together at one of our annual communications and do a show from Grand Lodge. I know that I know other Masonic podcasts have done that. Usually from Masonic Week out back east, but I think that would be great. Good idea.
Yeah, Jim had asked us to do at the Conference Grand Masters, but of course with the pandemic, it was closed this year. It's coming back to Seattle in 24. Is it 24? I hate to say that out loud. I don't know. It is coming back to Seattle.
I think that's what he said it was.
And so we, definitely prepare for that. And of course, if it comes close, that would be great. It'd be fun to hang out. But yeah, Annual Communication. I would love to come up for All Masonic Day. Do you go to that, Jarrod? It's
usually on my birthday.
Oh,
usually happens early in March.
Oh, we just lost you.
So, and I'm kind of a wuss. I don't travel across the connector, like our mountain passes, until springtime.
Well, there's good reason for that,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's all the 4x4s in the ditch.
Yeah.
Well, even though the show won't come out for a few weeks, are you still landlocked, guys? I know Stephen was for a little while, but
no,
we are.
We have a route open. Route 3 in the south is now open. For what's the word they're using?
Essential travelers.
Essential travel only. But we have produce up here, so I'm happy.
No scurvy. So, for those that you don't know, we just have had some really massive rains here in the Northwest and into Canada as well, and so Stephen and Jarrod are basically been cut off from civilization and access to goods and services.
I take offense to that.
Wherever Jarrod goes, it is civilization.
That's right. I'm very civilized.
Well, David's right. We have been pretty cut off for the most part, with the exception of essential travel. They're trying to let trucks with supplies and groceries and fuel trucks and whatnot come up here. But even so, it's one of those things where even if you were allowed to go through, it would be the most painful drive ever, because you're going to be down to one lane, alternating traffic. That means you're going to spend hours on that highway, more than necessary, right? So might want to rethink those things if you're going to travel and think you can get through essential travel times, right? But it was very freaky to watch. The videos of all these highways being totally decimated. I'll guarantee it's gonna be next summer before the Coquihalla is even back to being open anywhere close to full function.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It devastating. The 5, 6, I think it was 6 major sections of that highway were taken out by the floods.
Which is good, because Grand Lodge is to the east of us this year. We don't have to go the other way.
Yeah, they all got to come past us, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's in the Kootenays this year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in. Oh, yeah.
Kimberly. No. Was it not Kimberly? Terrace? No, where is that?
No, Terrace is up north, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Terrace is 2 years from now, 3 years from now. In.
Do you not know where Annual Communication is, or do you not really know where these cities are?
Well, I can't remember the city. I can't remember the name of the city. I know it's in the Kootenays because I looked it up, but I can't remember exactly which city it is in the Kootenays.
Right.
So it's to the east. It's almost at the Alberta border, I think. I don't know.
Like
anything that goes, further east than Penticton or further west than Penticton is really, kind of
not where civilization is what it is.
Not where civilization is.
I just looked it up real quick. The Conference of Grandmasters is in February of 2024 in Seattle.
Yay!
I agree. But I think that'd be really cool to do some. Heck, I've got a laptop and I can move this microphone. I think it'd be awesome to go to Grand Lodge, and I've never. Actually, that's not true. I have been through Eastern British Columbia, but it's been a while since I've been through Eastern British Columbia. I'd love to go and see the Grand Lodge of BC and the Yukon, or for you guys to come down here. I think that'd be a hoot.
Yeah, actually, you guys should be able to get up there. Yeah, you should be able to come up. You wouldn't have to come up through that highway. You come up the back way through the pass.
Well, then yours isn't till, I think yours is the week after ours, as I recall, or usually is. Is that?
I don't know. When's yours?
June. Yeah, it's usually Father's Day weekend. Yeah,
ours is the
usually my birthday.
Yeah, ours is the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, closest to St. John's Day, is what it says in the Constitution. So,
yeah,
I've
actually had the membership sing me happy birthday at least twice.
Man, you're old.
It was one of the years was Jim Mendoza, of course. He placated me and said, "Hey, by the way, we have a special event happening." But yeah, that would be really cool to come up there. And now that we can travel in foreign countries, that would be really great to do that. And so, yeah, definitely put it on your calendars for February 24 to come down. Jim Mendoza, of course, again, he has a little bit of pull around here. And so he is kind of a standing invitation to come to, Scottish Rite events or Annual Communication or any of those kind of things that happen here in Washington. We would love to have you come down and do a live show. And he's, whether we do it remote, where you guys are remote and we're live, that's an option too. If you guys, we could do the same thing. If you guys have an event, some special thing happening and you want to set up, I think we should. This is a little bit more like the Blue Room than actual show recording, but that's we're kind of all over the top of here. We're not really talking about our favorite stuff this year, but yeah, it would be great to do that.
Looking forward to the next year.
Yep, absolutely, yeah, exactly. And like someone said earlier, if you guys, if our listeners have any suggestions on what you'd like to hear, please let us know. There's the Working Tools Podcast at gmail.com. There's a Facebook page. There's you can contact us, I think, through the Anchor website, I think. And if not, go to one of the other ones. But yeah, we'd love to hear whatever show ideas or I guess we don't want to hear you guys stink, but if you want to call us awesome, we'll gladly take that on.
Yeah, any good topic ideas are always welcome.
It always amazes me. We've got a Google Doc of podcast topics, and I keep thinking, we're going through all these topics, but somehow the doc keeps getting longer and longer because we keep coming up with others. We should talk about that. Put it on the list. And
then we started doing interviews where we weren't really talking about topics so much as interviewing people in their lives and their experiences or the the thing that they represent or wanted to promote, right? So, our list really never started to get chopped away at.
Yeah, I just was looking at my list again, and as I said earlier, there's been so many great shows and so many great topics, and kind of the ones we've just done are seemingly some of my favorite, but I will have to say that, and I was a little bit skeptical about this series, but I think it really turned out excellent. And the conversation we had with Nathan Davis about Worship Brother Cody, and that turned out to be a really amazing series. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, I would really encourage you to go back and listen to that series and really take stock. It's appropriate for the end of the year, and it's appropriate for who we are as Masons. And one of the symbols, there's lots of things in Masonry that may be considered controversial. Some people might come in and go, well, that's kind of weird, or whatever, have some fast discussions about it. The terms we use, worshipful master, well, I don't worship anybody. Well, if you understand what that means, it's actually an Old English word. It doesn't, one of the big things is the skull and crossbones. People think, oh, it's a bad symbol or whatever. Well, no, it's a symbol of immortality. And if we don't realize that is something that we need to face, then how can you understand what you should do the next day or the day after that?
You mean it's true? I'm going to live forever?
And so using the symbols of Freemasonry, especially, again, the skull and crossbones, people say, oh, that's, I'm part of the riding club, and so I have skull and crossbones on, and people think, oh, he's some bad dude, whatever, some motorcycle dude, whatever. Well, no, it's a symbol of immortality. It's, if you really understand what these symbols mean and what their purpose is, it's not a scary thing. It shouldn't be a scary thing. And so that series from Nathan really, really affected me, really reminded me about things we should do, not only for as Masons, but also for our own family and our own friends. And, do you have a plan set up? Do you have one of our past Grand Masters, Most Worshipful Sat just passed away recently, and again reminded us that life happens and then it doesn't, and you have to try to your best to be prepared for that, and understand that they're hopefully in a better place, or whatever your beliefs are, or a different place or whatever. And I don't know, I'm kind of rambling here now, but that immortality is the idea of immortality is an important symbol to Freemasonry and shouldn't be scary. And I think a great series on that.
Well, I thought that the skull and crossbones on your jacket meant that you were poisonous and we shouldn't eat you, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I agree. As I tell my kids frequently, usually they jokingly say something like, we're all going to die when I'm driving, generally, for some reason. But I always tell them, we're all going to die soon, and we don't know when, so do good while you can. That's the whole point of it.
Exactly.
But anyway, now you've dragged me off topic. So yeah, it's are there other ideas that you guys are looking forward to maybe doing in the next near future? Is there something that's on your mind that you want to talk about?
Well, going back to Lodge now, it goes back to kind of our last recording of where we were talking about how things go slow. We just got the instructions from our Grand Lodge that we're allowed to go back and meet. And with all the restrictions and rules involved. And, we're actually not in a hurry to go back and meet because our area is a COVID hotspot in the Okanagan right now. And unfortunately for us, so one of our members, his business has been decimated and he's got more than half his staff is at home now with COVID, and their whole families have COVID now. And our worshipful master, his niece and nephew go to the school in West Kelowna that got shut down. They brought COVID home. Now their families have it. So it's not necessarily anything we want to rush into. So we are taking our time, and we've asked for dispensation to not meet until February and reassess things then, right? So some things I'm looking forward to, some things I'm not. Right. But I want to say it has been a fun year doing the podcasts with you guys and having all our guests on. It's been great. The conversations have been incredible, right? So I've heard lots of positive comments about our show, and I love hearing or reading the various comments here and there that come through. So it's awesome.
It has been, I think, not to give us too much credit or anything, but I think that Masonic podcasts in general and these sort of online conversations really during COVID, when I know all the Grand Lodge of Washington stopped meeting for a while, you guys are only going to start meeting again soon. And it happened all over the world, that this was an opportunity for us to keep a little bit of Masonry alive. I'm not saying we although clearly it's true, the four of us saved Masonry, but the ability of these shows to provide just a little dose, a weekly something about Masonry to keep it in people's minds and keep Masons challenged and thinking I like to think was a valuable service.
Absolutely. And we would certainly ask that if you find value in this, that you would share it with your brethren and with your lodge and anybody else. I mean, I guess shameless self-promotion here, but again, it really isn't about us so much. It's a labor of love, and we do enjoy it, and just ask that you share it, and hopefully we bring some value to your experience in Masonry. And again, we would love to have more guys on. I mean, it would be kind of fun to do some kind of a roundtable. Saparade does a really cool thing where it's a presentation, but it's a show where they get multiple people on. They're a little long, guys. If you're listening, if anybody happens to listen from Saparade, they're awesome. But 3 and 4 hours is a long time to listen. But wow, great information. And so to redirect interest in our show, there are, as Matt indicated, there's lots of other shows out there. So we encourage you. And not surprisingly, there's been a lot of new shows pop up in the last 2 years, year and a half, during the pandemic. I think guys are looking around thinking, hey, what am I going to do here? Or new guys. I've seen some really cool shows from new guys that are relatively new Masons that have come up and are talking about Masonry and what they're doing and having quick interviews and things like that. So definitely look for what interest, just like a lodge. Our format may be of interest to you, and you enjoy what we do, and there may be another show that's of interest to you, and so certainly go and find what fits and enjoy that and consume it and make it yours.
But subscribe to ours first.
Yeah, there you
go. So that sounded like a wrap up from David. Jarrod, Stephen, do you have anything that you would want to add in our last show of the year?
Oh, it's been fun. Wrap it up, Matt.
So, I know wait a minute, something just occurred to me. Those episodes that David said were some of your favorites with talking about the Joseph Cody paper, those are the episodes that I missed. So now I know why they're your favorite. The truth comes out. So
mote it be.
But on a serious note, I personally genuinely enjoy getting together with you guys every couple of weeks and talking about Masonry or just our lives or whatever. I enjoy talking to each of you, and the fact that someone might be listening is kind of almost an added bonus. I don't know. I dig it. So there you go. With that, I want to, on behalf of Jarrod and Stephen and David and myself, I want to thank you everyone for listening. Remind everyone again, please, let us know if there's something you like or something you want to hear. The Working Tools Podcast at gmail.com, or there's the Working Tools Podcast on Facebook, or we're available on any of those awesome apps where you get things. We're on YouTube, etc., Anchor, Stitcher, all those good things. Don't forget to subscribe and like the show if you like the show. And if you find value here, we're looking to do a couple of cool things like we were just talking about, moving around the show every once in a while. And that's probably going to require a little bit more equipment than we have, or a little better equipment than we have. So if you want to support the show, there's a link down in the show notes to shoot a couple bucks to us if you like, through I think it's through the Anchor website where we do most of our podcasting technical stuff.
And if you don't find value, find entertainment.
There you go. Entertainment is a value all its own. So with that, I think this, if I counted right, this will be episode 140 of the Working Tools Podcast. And I want to, on behalf of the guys, I want to say thank you to anyone who's listening, and that we look forward to talking yet again next week on the Working Tools Podcast. Goodbye and Happy New Year.